With pristine landscapes and trail segments, is it possible to get any closer to the pioneer experience? Since 1993, modern adventurers in eastern Kansas have ridden across a 100-mile stretch of the original trail the old-fashioned way. Ken and Arleta Martin organize these reenactments. They start by contacting the ranchers and farmers whose land they'll need to cross.
These landowners have been superb. They've helped us open gates. They've gotten their cattle out early. Had one landowner that wanted us to go through his properties, and we couldn't find a good creek crossing. I said, well, that's fine, we can go around. No. And within 2 weeks, I had a phone call. He'd had a dozer down, and he pushed us in a crossing.
Many thought that farming had removed all trace of the trail in Kansas, but Ken and others have found many well-preserved trail ruts. Local ranchers are quite delighted to have a piece of American heritage on their land.
First, it was just something, yeah, it's here. We're not going to plow them up. We're just going to take care of them because it's been in the family 4 or 5 generations, and there's no intention of getting rid of them. And now it's kind of getting to be a competitive thing. Who's got the best ruts and who's got the most and who's got the biggest, longest length, you know.
With the help of the Martins and the landowners, wagon train participants get quite a ride.
Looking over the prairie, you get this sense of this vastness of this country, and going across it at a horse's walk or human's walk is just an unbelievable feeling. It just felt like we'd gone back 160 years.
The total experience, the sound, the sights, no airplanes, no jet streams, no phone wires, just being out there doing it. It's just a lot of fun.
And the people that used to be here, the ghosts, the history of it, just pulls me in. This is a way of really getting the feel of that trail and those swales. It's wonderful.
This may well be the most authentic pioneer experience, but there are more modern ways to experience the trail. Soda Springs, Idaho was a welcome stop for the pioneers. Naturally carbonated spring water provided badly needed refreshment. Beneath the waters of this man-made lake lies Steamboat Springs, a pioneer landmark still faintly visible. On the shores of this lake is a golf course with a unique feature. If your ball strays a little to the left on the 8th fairway, you might find yourself in a rut.
A beautiful, beautiful area where the ruts are so deep you can just visualize the thousands of wagons that must have gone right along number 8 green. We often say that if those pioneers had just stayed away, we wouldn't have that bad shot off of 8, but we enjoy the Oregon Trail. I just think the men that built the course, the old-timers, I just don't think they wanted to spoil that area.
A well-preserved trail rut runs almost the entire length of the course. This is one way the trail can coexist with modern development. Another example lies a little to the west in Boise. After traveling many miles on high desert plains, the pioneers found the lush green Boise Valley a welcome sight. Today, it's a welcome sight for homebuyers. A recently proposed housing development threatened to destroy over 1 mile of well-preserved trail ruts. Some of this land had been acquired from the federal government and still fell under the National Historic Preservation Act. This meant that the developer would be faced with a lengthy legal process before any building could take place. The Bureau of Land Management office in Boise made sure that the developer was aware of this.
That put a stop to their negotiations for sale of the property, and they were trying to figure out how to do this compliance effort for the National Historic Preservation Act. And I took the opportunity at that point in time to say, well, if it would help matters, BLM would be willing to acquire the properties that were affected by the Oregon Trail remnants.
The BLM purchased a thin strip of land that contained the trail remnants, while homes were built on the remaining property. The trail property was turned over to the Boise City Parks Department, who made it accessible to the public.
We have about 1.5 miles of Oregon Trail ruts within this Oregon Trail Preserve Historic Park, And scattered throughout the park, there are some very nice interpretive spots. It gets a lot of recreation use, and a lot of school kids come up here. You can travel the gravel trails by foot or by bicycle and look over to your right or left and see the actual ruts of the Oregon Trail.
The trail in a neighboring development was not so fortunate. The land here had no federal protection. While the developer created an Oregon Trail theme, new home and road development are destroying all evidence of the trail in this area. The City of Rocks National Reserve faces a similar land use challenge. Shortly after the California-bound pioneers parted company from those going to Oregon, they came to an area of rock formations unlike anything they had ever seen.
Nearly all the journals refer to the rocks in this area. As you've seen, why it does look kind of like a city of rocks. It's much as it was when the pioneers first seen it. There's a few fences in here, but other than that, it's much like it has been for the last 100 and 150 years. Our intent is to protect this historical scene that exists in this area.
While the Park Service carefully preserves the public land that it manages, the City of Rocks is actually a checkerboard of both public and private land. Zoning restrictions provide some protection from development, but there is no guarantee of what might happen here. Similar situations exist elsewhere along the trail. Even the most historically important landmarks are not immune to commercialization.
This is Independence Rock. It was a very famous landmark along the trail. Most of the immigrants tried to reach it by July 4th if they were going to especially make it over the western mountains, Oregon and California, before the snows came. Early fur trappers started using it as a message center, put their names on it. The immigrants started putting their names on it, and then it was literally covered with names.
Independence Rock attracts a lot of modern-day visitors. Everyone from curious travelers to pioneer descendants come to experience this American icon. There's easy access to the rock. People can learn about what took place here. And they can experience the same sights that the pioneers did, almost undisturbed, from 150 years ago. But it almost didn't turn out this way.
There was a group of people, investors, who wanted to develop this into a theme park with campground, make a great commercial venture of this great historic site, and would have totally ruined the pristine nature of the historic site.
These investors had the support of a government agency. The only thing that stood in their way was a pair of ranchers who owned the surrounding land.
They wanted to condemn our land, over 2,080 acres, and they were going to put in a multitude of concessions, campgrounds, trails all over where the swales are. It would no more have looked like Independence Rock than a man in the moon by the time they got through with it.
Fearing that an irreplaceable piece of American history would be lost forever, Gaynell Park and her husband fought the development plan. Their battle took them to the courts and to the legislature. After several years, they won. And they wanted to make sure that something like this never happened again.
And we felt that it was important to preserve Independence Rock. So we donated it after a period of time to the state of Wyoming in order to preserve it and its history, keep it free of commercialization and free use to the public.
Each place along the Oregon and California trails has its own unique story and its own special beauty. The Oregon-California Trails Association and the National Park Service are dedicated to preserving the immigrant trails so they may be enjoyed by all.
Get on the trail, walk it for 15 miles in any direction, experience what it's like, get that pioneer feeling. I can almost guarantee if you do that, you'll be hooked for life.
And then hopefully you enthuse others with that information and they too become interested. And that's, I think, how our legacy and heritage is carried forward from one generation to the next. There's many important stories that cannot be lost. We have to retain and pass those along.
And while you're on your way to visit the trail, cruising along at 70+ miles an hour, be sure to keep an eye out for the faint remnants of those who passed this way before.